Hello, this is a video on how to start new colors in Intarsia. So I've got a 30 stitch pattern here that I'm going to be starting, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different strands that I'm going to be starting on this needle. So I'm going to show you how to start those and show you how to make it look nice and tidy. So we're going to start, and you can use butterflies or bobbins or however you want to manage the colors. That's up to you. My personal preference is I don't use butterflies or bobbins. I just make these soft center pull balls and start with those. So we're going to do 5 in the dark color, and I just start with the new yarn. Really doesn't matter whether you're a continental or English knitter. It's not about where the yarn's coming from, it's about how we're going to start the new strands. Okay, so we're going to start the first white strand right here. So we drop the green to the back. We're going to get one of our white strands, and I bring the strand, the tail, to the front of the work between the two needles. So the tail is hanging on the front of the work. On the back, you're going to take the green, the dark color that you just used, over the top of the white before you start using it. And that traps it right from the beginning and will make a nice junction for you to weave the tail in later. See how the green is going over the white. Let's move this up a little bit so it's out of the way. There's my green strand. We'll do it again. My white's kind of curly, isn't it? So the white, I start with the tail on the front between the two needles. There's the tail. Then take the green that I just used over the top of that white. Take the white underneath, and I start knitting with the white. And we're going to knit 5 squares with the white. And it'll be loosey-goosey in this part. Don't worry about it. We'll tighten it up after the first row. You just want to make sure you have a long enough tail on the front that you'll be able to weave it in later. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to have one dark strand. So we let the white go to the back. We're going to grab a new dark. We put this tail in the front, take the working yarn between the two needles to the back, take the white that we just finished with over the top of the dark, pick the dark up, and we're going to knit 1 stitch. Make sure we have a long enough tail in the front. 1 stitch. I'm going to bring that tail down a little longer. Then we add another white. So we're getting another white. We bring the tail from the front between the two needles to the back. We take our just used green over the top of the white, pick the white up from underneath. You can see the green going over the white right there, and we're going to knit 5 white stitches. Okay, make sure the white tail is plenty long enough. Now we're going to be doing 5 dark, so we're going to add another dark yarn in. Bring the tail to the front, take it between the two needles, bring our just used white over the top, now the dark up from under the light, and we're going to knit 5 stitches. Now we've got one light, so we're going to get another light yarn, lay it over the front, take it between the two needles, bring the dark over the top of the light from underneath, knit one light stitch, then our last dark yarn, we're going to do these 5 right here, bring the tail to the front, bring the white over the tail. You don't have to worry about them being tight, you just do the maneuver. We'll tighten it up in just a minute after we finish the first row. So we're doing 5 of the dark. We've got 4 stitches remaining, and we're going to add our last white strand from the front, take the dark over the light, pick up the light, and knit the last 4 stitches. So basically, it's going to look like a huge mess at this point. We've got 8 strands hanging off of the front, and we're going to have 8 strands going to the back. So we've got our new green strand that we started with here for coming to the front. When we come to the end of it, the end is going over here. Then we've got the next white starting here, and it ends here. The green starts here, ends here. White starts here, ends here. Dark here, ends here. Light here, ends here. Light here, dark here, ends here. Light, light. Whoops. Almost lost that one. So you can see that. These you're not going to do anything with until you're done, and you'll weave the ends in, and if you look at my Intarsia Basics video, it shows you how to weave those ends in. Now let's do the very first row, okay? We turn the work. And one thing that I do on every single row, after I finish it, I go across the row and I tighten these. And as I do that, let me magnify this. So the next one's going to be, watch what happens when I pull on this. See, it pulls up that extra slack, and this is what tidies up your Intarsia on the right side of the work, because you'll always have these little bits of extra yarn where these interchanges happen. And I do this after every row, and it becomes a habit after a while. See, it made a huge difference there. So now we're going to work back. Let's go back to the single magnification. We have a 5-stitch garter, 4-stitch garter edge, so the first 4 stitches are going to be in garter stitch, which is knit every row. And then we're going to have our first color change. Bring the just used color over the top of the color that you're going to use next, and it's always the same. The just used color goes over the top, whether you're on the right side or the wrong side. Pick up the next color, and in this instance we're going to purl because we're on the wrong side of the work. And we're going to follow our pattern here. So we're going to purl 4. We're on row 2. Purl 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to be purling 3 in the light color. So you bring this yarn down over the top of the next color that we're going to use, which is this light. You can double check and pull on it, see where it's attached. We know that that's the correct light color yarn. Believe me, it can get confusing which yarn you should be picking up. So I always check to see where it's attached. 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to have 4 in the dark. So this is the dark yarn that we're going to use is right here. And it's attached to this stitch that's just under the needle. Yes, that's it. So we take the light over the top, pick that one up, and we're going to purl 4. The first couple rows will feel really messy, but once you get up away from those tails, it'll neaten up quite a bit. Now we know we're going to purl 4 of the light. Here's our dark. This is the next light that we're going to use, and we're going to test it. Yes, it's attached to that stitch. So we're going to purl 4 of the light. And then we have 3 of our dark. So we cross the light over the dark. Here's the dark. We test it. Yes, it's attached to that stitch. Purl 3. Now we've got 4 of the light. So we drop this down. This is our light that we're going to use. Right, it's not this one. That's over to this side. It's this one right here. Yep, it's that one. We just tested it. And we're going to do 4 light. And then we're going to have our last 4 dark in garter stitch. So we have our light. Here's our garter stitch yarn right here. We bring it up under the light, take it to the front because we're going to knit those because they're garter stitch. And let's take a look at this again. We'll lay it back down. So again, I double check everything. There should be no long strands floating across here. If there are, you've made a mistake and you need to go back and correct it. So here's our first white when we finished with it. So we're going to, let's enlarge this. We're going to tug on that. Here's the first green. The green stitch. So we're going to tug on that. See what a difference that makes? Here's the next white. We're going to tug on that. The next green. Big difference. The next white. The next dark. The next light. And the last dark. At this point we can turn it over and look at the right side of those tails that are coming off the right side. And there might be times when you see an enlarged stitch associated with them, like this white one right here. You can take the tail, it's coming off the front, and adjust that stitch size. Do you see how that's working? I can adjust that one. You don't want to pull them up so tight that they disappear, but you do want them to look nice. You see that, how that works? Okay, So that's the end of this video. So that gets you started on the first couple of rows. This is with multiple colors coming up into your intarsia. This is associated with a tutorial that I'm doing a knit along for, and I'll put links for it in the description of this video. Be sure to like my video, share it with your friends, share it on social media, Facebook, Pinterest, on YouTube, wherever you want to share it. Subscribe to my channel and join my groups. So I'll put them in the description also. I have one on Ravelry and one on Facebook. Lots of people, and we have a really good time. Talk to you later. Happy knitting.